Russell Westbrook retires after 18 seasons in the NBA. And all of a sudden, everybody loves Russ. I find that very interesting because when he was playing, all I heard was Westbrook every night. And we're going to get into that later. Then we got college football. They brought out their AP Top 25. And apparently, winning a national championship and going 16-0 only warrants you being the sixth best team coming into next season. I got a problem with that too. But we're going to forget about the AP polls for now because I got my X-Factor top 10 college football teams coming up. And I promise you, some people are going to be sick about this list. Let's get into it. Yo. This is another episode of the X-Factor Sportz Podcast. This is your host, Jay Mondaine, episode 139. I appreciate y'all for tuning in tonight. You can catch us on YouTube every Wednesday. Be sure to share and follow and subscribe and catch all of the reels on social media. And for all my listeners on all audio platforms, I appreciate that too. Be sure to let everybody know that they can catch the X-Factor Sportz Podcast on all audio platforms. So like I said in the opening, we are going to talk about Russell Westbrook. We're going to talk about his career, what he meant to the league, and all the people, all the deterrents, all of the pundits that talk bad about him. We're going to get into that. College football, is Indiana being disrespected by being ranked number 6 coming into this season after an undefeated national championship year? And of course, our 2-minute warning, we're going to dive into that as well. We're going to keep it going with the winners and losers series that we started. And the hot take of the week, college football. I know because college football is such a tribal group of people. I know y'all going to be pissed off when y'all get this hot take of the week. So without further ado, we're going to dive right into it. We're going to get into Russell Westbrook. Again, Mr. Thunder, 18 years in the league. My man is one of the best point guards to ever play the game, period. I don't care what nobody has to say. When you look at the stats, when you look at what Westbrook meant to basketball, particularly what he did once Kevin Durant left the OKC Thunder, you can just marvel about all the historical numbers that he had. I mean, the 9-time All-Star, the 9-time All-NBA. Obviously, he won a league MVP in 2017, the scoring titles, but more importantly, what he did for history when it comes to the triple-double. This is where the media turned on him too, because in that season, after Durant left, everybody left OKC for dead. He put this team on his back and did something historic, something that hadn't been done since the 60s with Oscar Robertson, averaging a triple-double. It was one of the greatest feats ever. But that's not even the crazy part. The fact that he did it so often that people thought it was a joke or that they had to change the narrative on Westbrook, talking about he was stat padding, because he was able to do it 4 different times in his career. Instead of just honoring this dude and talking about how great he was, we try to make it seem like getting a triple-double or even averaging a triple-double was a negative thing. But when Jokic or when Luka does it, it's a great feat. Or LeBron does it, it's a great feat. But this guy averaged a triple-double in 4 different seasons. And we try to act like we forget based on how we treated him his last 6-7 years of his career. Okay? But let's dive into what Russell Westbrook was to basketball. Again, this is a guy, came out of UCLA as an athletic defensive guard who we had questions about his game. We knew the athleticism was elite, the strength, the speed, the power, but we didn't know how well of a basketball player he would become based on his skills. But he showed every year that he got better and better and better. Even in 2012, you know, the highlight when they went to the finals against the Heat, it was about Kevin Durant versus LeBron James, the Heatles, all that. If you go back and look at what Russell Westbrook was doing in those finals, and he talks about, or you watch how he was dominant as young as they were in 2012. And you can just see the potential from there, how good of a player he was going to become, how great of a player he became because of how good he was playing. So the beginning of his career, the greatness was already being seen. And then the pressure turned on them about winning. Now it's about winning. Can they get over the hump? They've gotten to an NBA Finals this young in their career, like any sport. If you go ahead of schedule, now it becomes an expectation and not a surprise. So when James Harden leaves, now the pressure really rises on a Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. Ken needs to lead the Oklahoma City Thunder to an NBA championship. Are these guys good enough? Are they a good enough dynamic duo to go against all of these big threes? You know, even getting to Western Conference Finals year after year, piling up all the wins. Kevin Durant was getting most of the credit, but I don't think he could have did that without Russell Westbrook, and Westbrook couldn't have done it without Durant. I think they would both say the same things. And that's the beauty of a dynamic duo. Kobe couldn't do it without Shaq. Shaq couldn't do it without Kobe. Shaq couldn't do it without D. Wade. Kobe couldn't do it without Pau Gasol. Jordan and Pippen. Like, these are things that are necessary, especially in basketball. Kareem and Magic, those dynamic duos, one not doing it without the other. So when we get to Westbrook and KD, no, they weren't able to get it done. And he didn't get back to an NBA champion or an NBA Finals in his career, but that doesn't negate the fact that he wasn't great, okay? When you go back and look at the numbers, so for all you stat guys who don't like having context, just go look at the numbers. And for those of us who actually watch basketball and know ball, go out there and watch him actually play. Now, listen, I'm not sitting here saying that Westbrook was perfect. I'm not saying he didn't make mistakes. I'm not saying he didn't have sporadic, points of his game, or erratic points of his game. But what I am saying is when you look at the totality of his career, you cannot deny the greatness from which he came from out of UCLA to become one of the best offensive guards to ever play the game, scoring championships. He played both ends of the court as hard as he could. He gave you everything every night. And so when people talk about the stat pattern, why didn't everybody else go after these rebounds? If a guard can do it, why didn't the bigs go after these rebounds, right? We talk about the assists. How can you stat pad on assists? If he's giving the ball up to people when they're scoring, he's getting his teammates involved. He's doing everything they said he couldn't do once Kevin Durant left. So now when we get to his MVP season, after KD leaves, goes to Oklahoma or goes to Golden State after losing to them down 3-1, Westbrook has a season for the ages, 2016, 2017. This team was left for dead. This team was said that Oklahoma City wasn't going to make the playoffs. Westbrook couldn't do it by himself. All the doubts that people had about him. See, we forget about this when we look at the way Russell Westbrook's career ended. But let's not forget how he became an MVP and one of the best players to play the game. He had a dominant 2017 season, okay? Scoring champ, MVP. He dragged this team to the playoffs. Even though they were a 6 seed, most of the times you don't see a 6 seed win an MVP. But when we talk about historical context, what he did that year, when we talk about the triple doubles, when we talk about the scoring championship, like everything that this dude did, dragging his team from a place where nobody thought they can go, they became the story. He took over the headlines that year. Of course, KD going to the Warriors made them a juggernaut and everybody expected them to win. But we needed something else to talk about that season, not just how many games would the Golden State Warriors win this year. And Westbrook provided that. He played out of his mind. He played hard every single night. His teammates loved him. So that's another thing. All these people talk about Westbrook and he was a hard to play with, wasn't a good teammate. I've never heard one teammate say Russell Westbrook was a hard teammate to play with. Everybody loved him. I never heard a coach say they didn't appreciate or enjoy coaching him. So I don't know where this narrative came from. And this is why the media pisses me off so much. Because if a player doesn't do things a certain way, the media tends to turn on him because he didn't like talking to the media, because the way he was treated after he played. Everybody blamed him for Kevin Durant leaving. And he showed y'all in this season that he could dominate and win an MVP and become one of the best players in the league. But the narrative shifted on him once Kevin Durant left. And so he continued to be great. He continued to average triple doubles and do things that nobody done since the 1960s. But then it became stat padding because he made it look like it was easy to do. If it was that easy to do to stat pad and average a triple double, why didn't anybody else do it? Why hasn't anybody else averaged a triple double since he started doing it in 2017? Because nobody played as hard as Russ. Nobody respected the game as much as Russ did. He came out and gave you 100% every single night. And so that's what he needs to be remembered for. That's the greatness in Russell Westbrook. A guy that was told that he would only be this type of player and became a great player and showed it at the highest level. So the media talking about he's the reason teams couldn't win, as opposed to appreciating the type of player he was and how dominant he played and how hard he played against players that don't play as hard as him anymore. There aren't very many players like Russell Westbrook anymore that come out and give you 110%. So that's what should have been celebrated. Instead, he was getting the other side of it, that he was the one to blame for losing. Like when he was in LA, they made him the scapegoat because the other guy was there and they didn't win. Like it was Russ's fault. That wasn't Russell Westbrook's fault coming to that team. They were an aging team, no continuity. There was expectations because of the names on the back of the jerseys, but they weren't a team. They just threw guys together and they made him the scapegoat in LA. But let's not forget the greatness of a Russell Westbrook, okay? Let's not forget how great this guy was for the NBA, for kids all over the world that wanted to play basketball. This will be a guy, he will get the first statue in Oklahoma City. Believe that. And so I want to end it with this. Now that he's retired, everybody wants to give him his flowers at his proverbial funeral of his basketball career. But all these media guys, all these social media pundits was talking bad about Westbrook towards the end of his career instead of appreciating his greatness throughout. So keep the same energy. Don't go to his Hall of Fame speech. Don't go to any of his celebrations that he's about to have in the next few years, talking about how great and how much y'all loved Russell Westbrook when y'all weren't talking like that when he was actually playing. And for those of you who know me, y'all know I loved Beast Brook. I always talked about how great he was. I talked about his intensity, how hard he played. I loved how hard he played in a league that was getting softer by the year. And Russ was a throwback type of player, the type of player I watched growing up, gave it everything he had, and the numbers showed it. So when you stack his numbers up against anybody else at that position, he's almost got 30,000 points. The rebounds, the assists, he's the best rebounding point guard we've ever seen. He actually played defense on both ends, or he actually played on both ends of the floor. So those are the things you can't take away from a guy like Russell Westbrook. So just make sure that y'all don't forget that with all that criticism, that Westbrook is one of the best point guards to ever play the game. Bottom line. So here's my question to you. Where do y'all put Russell Westbrook all time in terms of greatest point guards? Is he top 10? Is he top 5? Let me know in the comments. The X-Factor Sportz Podcast is on YouTube every Wednesday night, so be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe to the X-Factor Sportz Podcast. But more importantly, you got to share it. So if you are following on social media, be sure to share all the reels, all the cutouts, so other people can get involved, other people can subscribe on YouTube at X-Factor Sportz. And for everybody that is listening, all of the audio platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, YouTube Music, you can catch us everywhere, Deezer even. You can catch all the audio, all 139 episodes of the X-Factor Sportz Podcast. Okay, so let's shift to this. College football has their top 25 AP poll, right? Now, we talk about disrespect. We're talking about the disrespect Russell Westbrook got. This is really crazy. We talk about the Indiana Hoosiers, 16-0, national champs, arguably one of the most dominant teams we've seen since that 2019 LSU team with Joe Burrow and them. And the reward they get is 5 other teams that are not champions get pushed ahead of them: Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Texas. So I say forget all that. Now, even though we have the AP Top 10 poll right here, courtesy of ESPN, is showing you the teams that are in the top 10. We have our own X-Factor Top 10 college football rankings that we're going to dive into tonight. And we're going to talk about why these teams are in the top 10. So as you can see, if you're listening, you probably can't see the list, but Ohio State's number 1, Oregon's number 2, Georgia's 3rd, Notre Dame is at 4, Texas is at 5, Indiana, the defending national champions, are at 6, Miami's at 7, the runner-ups to the national champions, Texas A&M at 8, Ole Miss 9, and Oklahoma 10. So that's their list, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to dive into the X-Factor college football top 10 list, okay? So let's see what we got here. On our list, we got the top 10, and we're going to run them down. So at number 10, my list is very similar to the ESPN AP Top 10 poll, but there are some changes, and I have some context behind why those changes are made. So at number 10, we got the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, to me, they snuck into the top 10, and there's enough talent there, and they had some good games last year, but they always seem to fall apart when it comes to SEC play. Since they've been in this conference, they have not looked like one of the top tier teams. I need to see, and I need them to prove that they can actually survive an SEC schedule. But based on their talent, we're going to have them at number 10. All right. At number 9, Ole Miss. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking, man, Ole Miss is still ranked in the top 10, even after losing their head coach to LSU, after losing. So they're still going to be a good football team. I think they rode that momentum, that anger of losing Lane Kiffin last season, and it propelled them to make a nice run in the college football playoff. But I feel like that was actually some evidence for them to prove that they can actually go far in college football. So I got them at number 9. They went 13-2 last season, made it to the college football playoff semifinal, and they have guys coming back. They got Kejuan Lacey coming back. Trinidad Chambliss, I think he older than Lamar Jackson. He's still in college football. They got him coming back, the savvy veteran, right? It seemed to work last year for Miami with their quarterback leading them to a national championship. Trinidad Chambliss staying for another year could help them as well. So I think that stability is there. Having that veteran presence at quarterback is going to help them. And I think that makes them legitimate top 10 contenders. At number 8, Texas A&M, okay? I like Mike Elko. I like Marcel Reed, and I like the weapons around them. They were really good last year. They lost 10 players to the NFL draft, though. So, again, another team that's going to have to prove it. They're replacing 4 starters on that offensive line, but I think they have some talent. I think they're going to be good enough to be a top 10 team, and they deserve the respect to come into this top 10 ranking at number 8. Okay. Now, I believe they can absolutely make the playoffs, but number 8 feels right until I see what that offensive line looks like. All right. At number 7, the Miami Hurricanes. All right. This is a runner-up to the national champions last year. They had a great year. You don't accidentally get to a national championship game. Okay. I don't care what anybody says in any sport. You can call it a miracle season or whatever. The game still has to be played, and you still have to go out and win them. And so congrats to them on doing that. Mario Cristobal, I think that's great for the program. He's bringing Miami back. He is an alum there. It's always great to see alum come back and actually make their alma maters a contender. So I respect it. Now, I'm not giving them an automatic national championship run, but I think they're going to be good this year, especially to start out the season and in the ACC. So I got them at 7. At number 6, again, different from the AP poll, courtesy of ESPN, I got the Texas Longhorns at 6. They are the Dallas Cowboys of college football to me. The name is great. Everybody loves talking Texas Longhorns. They got Arch Manning back for another year. Remember, this is the guy that was supposed to be the next coming of Peyton Manning. We're still wondering if he is going to be elite in the NFL. Okay, so the thing about the Texas Longhorns, and this is why I say they're the Dallas Cowboys of college football. I'm tired of seeing them win national championships in August. Okay, we always talk about how great these guys are, how stacked the roster is, and then we go out and play the games. And they didn't even make the college football playoff last year. Now, I know people are going to say, well, they should have made it and this and that. If you just win your games, you don't have to worry about if you should make to the college football playoff. They're in the SEC. They're in a Power 5 conference. So just win your games. Simple as that. Beat the people in front of you, and now we don't have to worry about if somebody else is lose or if somebody's on the bubble. Just go out and play. Stop being champions in August, okay? So I need Texas to prove it. I say all that to say that. I need them to prove it before I can rank them any higher than that, okay? Unlike Indiana, they haven't proven anything. They went 9-3 last year, and so just because we love the name Texas Longhorns, I'm not going to put them in my top 5. So I got them at 6. At number 5, and this is where I said some of you fans are about to start getting upset. I got Georgia at number 5, okay? Kirby Smart ain't going nowhere. The talent ain't going nowhere. Also, the expectations ain't going nowhere, okay? Georgia winning 12 games just doesn't seem good enough anymore at this point, okay? They have the Alabama Crimson Tide type expectations now with Kirby Smart. Multiple national championships. They don't rebuild, they reload every year. 12 wins is expected by this team. 2 losses is almost a failure out in Athens. So what I'm saying is I got this team at number 5 starting off because of how last year ended. Obviously, they're bringing guys back. Now, they might eventually be the number 1 team in America, but entering the season, I got them at number 5. At number 4, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Yes, the world has them at number 1. The world has them as national champs already. But this is where my biggest disagreement is with the AP, okay? They have them at number 1, but I got them at 4. And before the fans get at me, look, I like Julian saying he's legit quarterback. Jeremiah Smith may be the best wide receiver in college football. But we got to think about the other side of the ball. The reason we thought Ohio State was going to win a national championship last year is because they had like 6 pros on defense starting for them, right? And they've lost these guys. They lost like 10 guys to the NFL, okay, on the defensive side of the ball. That's a lot to make up, especially in the best conference in football now. I don't know if they have enough. And because they lost so much on the defensive end, I wouldn't have even made them a number 1 team, which is why I did not. So I got them at number 4. Now, I'm not ranking the team number 1 simply because they can reload. These freshmen still have to come in and prove it. I'm not going to make them the number 1 team in the country because they got a good recruiting class. And I don't do the same thing in basketball. I don't pander on that side of it either. These kids got to come out and ball first, okay? So for that reason, I got them at number 4. At number 3, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. All right. I love Notre Dame this year. I think that Notre Dame will play for a national championship. Okay. CJ Carr is back. So they got the experienced quarterback, a good offensive line, which is what you need in college football. If you got enough time to throw the ball, they're already wide open anyway in college. But if you got time with a great offensive line to throw the ball, they're going to put up a massive amount of points. All right. And they got talent on defense. So their schedule, they create the schedule. If they go out and just win these games, they don't have to worry about being on the bubble either. I think they make another run at a national championship this season. And so after what happened last season, winning 10 straight and still missing the college football playoff, I think these kids come back hungry. I think Marcus Freeman, the head coach, they come back hungry, ready to go, and they think about why they did not make the college football playoff and ending their season on a high note. College football is one of those weird things that you can actually end your season on a winning streak, but not make the college football playoff. So Notre Dame's one of those teams. This team comes back hungry, ready to go. I like them at 3. At number 2, the Indiana Hoosiers. Yes, you know, the defending national champions, 16-0, right? They didn't lose as many people as the Ohio State Buckeyes lost. They still got 60 guys coming back, okay? And because they lost Fernando Mendoza, we think the sky's falling. We think that they won't be as good. So the disrespect has to stop, okay? I'm not saying Josh Hoover is Fernando Mendoza, but he ain't a slouch either. Playing at TCU, he's thrown for almost 10,000 yards in his career, okay? He's thrown for over 70 touchdowns in his career. So it ain't like they just went and got some freshman off the, or some guy off the practice squad. They got an experienced, legitimate Big 12 quarterback to come replace Fernando Mendoza. He's got over 30 starts. He's played in big games. And Cignetti is still there. He's a hell of a recruiter, hell of a motivator, hell of a coach. So I think that they deserve at least to be number 2 on this list. They don't have to come back and be number 1. Yes, they lost Fernando Mendoza. Yes, they lost some guys to the NFL, but they're bringing a bunch of guys back, and they got a quarterback that has experience. So for that, and for the respect of being a defending, undefeated national champs, give me Indiana at number 2. And at number 1, the Oregon Ducks. I think the Oregon Ducks is bringing back more than anybody is bringing back. And they're entering the season as my number 1 team, the Oregon Ducks. And the biggest reason is their continuity. Dante Moore is back. That might be your Heisman favorite. The running backs are back. The weapons are back. All that continuity is there. A ton of their defensive guys are back. And last year they went 13-2. And they didn't lose much from last season coming back. All right. So they don't need to rebuild like some of these other teams are doing on this list. They need to finish. That's the biggest thing with Oregon. And that's why I have them at number 1. They don't have as many holes in their offseason as these other teams had. It's just finishing the job. If they can finish the job, they deserve to be the number 1 team. So that's why I got them as my best team coming into 2026. All right. So there you have it. That's my top 10 X-Factor top 10 college rankings. We got Oklahoma at 10, Ole Miss at 9, A&M at 8, Miami at 7, Texas Longhorns at 6, Georgia at 5, Ohio State at 4, Notre Dame at 3, the Indiana Hoosier defending national champs at 2, and the Oregon Ducks at 1. All right. So now y'all tell me, which one did I get wrong? And don't give me the entire top 10. Just give me one ranking and let me know and say, Jay, you lost your damn mind with this ranking. All right. Go ahead and put that in the comments. If you're looking for clean energy without all the junk, you got to check out Aspire Drinks. They pack 80 milligrams of natural caffeine from green tea with 0 calories, 0 sugar, and no jitters or crash. Plus, they're loaded with vitamins B and C and come in amazing flavors like mango lemonade and sweet cherry. Head over to aspiredrinks.com and use promo code X-Factor to get 20% off your order. That's aspiredrinks.com, promo code X-Factor. All right, so let's stay right here. We've been talking about college football, and let's talk about the Indiana Hoosiers being put at 6 on the AP preseason poll. Do you think that's disrespectful or is it justified? Obviously, I think it's disrespectful. That's why I had them at number 2 in my list. And when you think about it, defending national champs went 16-0, bringing a lot of guys back. They got a veteran quarterback to replace Fernando Mendoza. So I don't know what warrants Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Texas being ahead of these guys coming into the season, okay? This team went 16-0. They won the Big Ten. They beat Ohio State, okay? They beat everybody they needed to beat. They beat Miami. They beat Oregon. So coming into this season, and I get it. We shouldn't dwell on last season or, a lot of these rankings, as y'all know, are projections. But we can't deny the fact that this was a historic run and that this team should be way higher than 6. Okay? The bottom line is this. Indiana's not a big name in football. So, of course, you're going to say the Ohio States, the Texas, the Notre Dames, right? The blue bloods of college football. And with Indiana coming in and crashing the party, we're not going to put them in the top 5, regardless of what they did last year. So we're going to find some way to make it seem like they need to earn respect this season, as if they didn't earn it last year by beating everybody, okay? So let me be fair. Like I said, I understand why the voters did it. Indiana lost their Heisman Trophy winner in Fernando Mendoza to the NFL. Several important pieces left after the national championship game. Meanwhile, Ohio State, all these other teams kept their quarterbacks. Julian Saint is still there. Oregon returns Dante Moore. Georgia returns Gunnar Stockton. I don't know how old these dudes are. Notre Dame returns C.J. Carr. And Texas returns Arch Manning. I get it. But college football is more than just having a quarterback, okay? They proved that last year. That defense was dominant too on the side of Indiana, okay? So when we're asking which roster looks safest on paper, I understand why y'all got Indiana falling. That's a true argument. But the problem with that argument is we're acting like Fernando Mendoza, again, is being replaced by some dude they just got out of the student union and say, hey, you know how to throw a football? Come on. I don't think we are giving Josh Hoover the respect he deserves, okay? This dude has 9,600 passing yards in college, over 70 touchdowns in college, okay? The Bill Parcells rule, he started over 30 games. Bill Parcells rule, he says, if you're going to draft a quarterback, I need to see at least 30 starts in college before we draft a guy. So it ain't like they got Mitchell Trubisky starting for them, okay? They got an experienced quarterback, just like the rest of these guys, and they're coming off of the heels of a national championship. He played in a big-time conference playing at TCU, okay? 60 returning players, multiple starters from that national championship, okay? So there's still championship pedigree, DNA in that locker room, led by Kurt Signetti. So for them to be put at 6 behind Texas, just because Texas is Texas, sounds crazy to me. All right, I know I threw a lot of Texases in there, but that just sounds crazy to me that team who has proved nothing, being 9-3 last year, couldn't even win 10 games, has the luxury of being ranked higher than these guys, okay? So here's my issue with the preseason rankings. We punish the teams that actually accomplish something and reward the teams that we think are going to be good. All of this is just based off potential. Again, I told y'all earlier, I feel the same way about college basketball. The college basketball rankings mean nothing to me until Christmas. These college football rankings mean nothing to me until Halloween, okay? When they actually got to roll out on the field. Texas is 5th off potential. Ohio State is 1st off potential. Georgia is 3rd because we trust the brand. But Indiana, the team that actually won the whole damn thing, is not getting any respect because they're in Bloomington, Indiana. Let's keep it real. If they were a Penn State or a Michigan, they'd be ranked higher. But the fact that they're this small little basketball school in the middle of Indiana, we don't want to show them love. After they beat everybody that got put in their path last season, brought the first Heisman Trophy winner to their campus, and won a national championship, we're not going to show them love. We're going to disrespect them by putting them behind a team in Texas who ain't done nothing in the last 20 years. All right? So I don't like that they try to make these guys prove it again. The champion should lose their crown on the field. Simple as that. That's why I got Indiana number 2 in my ballot, okay? Indiana went 16-0, won a national championship, and the AP ranked them 6th. Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Texas, 5 teams ahead of them. Don't that just seem crazy to y'all after what they did, making history The reward is that we put teams that didn't even make it to the college football championship, didn't even make it to the semifinal. We put them ahead of y'all. Don't that seem crazy to y'all? So y'all let me know, okay? Should the defending champs automatically start next season at least in the top 3? Or does it matter? Obviously, it matters based on who they lost. But out of respect for being national champs, should they? Okay, let me back up. So y'all answer me this. If a team wins a national championship in football and they don't have a mass exodus of their players, should they at least be put in the top 4 going into next season? Y'all let me know in the comments. Okay, so this week on X Marks the Spot, we're going to talk about the team that I have. We're staying with college football. We're going to talk about the team that everybody loves, the number 1 team in the country, preseason ranked, okay? And I know y'all not going to like this, but this week on my X Marks the Spot, Ohio State will not make the Big Ten championship game. All right? That is my hot take of the week. Not that they won't win a national championship. I'm not saying that. They won't even win the Big Ten title, okay? Again, everybody's seeing Julian saying and Jeremiah Smith and saying, you're crazy. How can you not have Ohio State going to a national championship game or even winning the Big Ten? It's simple as this. The other side of that football, the side of the football that nobody likes to talk about, they lost so many players to the draft. They had 6 dudes taken in the first round, okay? That is a huge loss in terms of ability, in terms of leadership, in terms of execution, dominance, fear. Like, they lost all of that. They lost that aura on that side of the ball, losing over half of their defense, starting defense, to the pros. And they lost other defensive guys in other rounds. But when you lose that much dominance and you put all that pressure on the offense to win a national championship, even a Big Ten championship, in the best conference in America, where they got to see Oregon, where they got to see Indiana, where they got to see the cocaine Cowboys up in Penn State, when they got to go see these guys, I just think they're going to have problems. And so for me, and all the other teams that are in the Big Ten now, Washington, USC, when they got to see all these guys, that is my hot take of the week. The Ohio State Buckeyes will not even win the Big Ten, let alone get in the national championship. All right? So the fact that they lost a ton on defense and the fact that they got to go through a gauntlet in the best conference in football is the reason why I'm making this take, okay? So I want y'all to save this clip for December, and either I'm going to look like a genius or y'all can kill me on this clip and reshare it. It's all good. But I'm brave enough to make these takes every week, and this week, that is my take. My prediction, the Ohio State Buckeyes will not even make it to the Big Ten championship game, all right? And that's my X Marks the Spot hot take of the week. Before we get up out of here, we're going to hit y'all with a 2-minute warning. And this week, this is going to be a great one this week. We're going to talk about a quote from Winston Churchill, okay? Winston Churchill says, success is not final and failure is not fatal, okay? It's the courage to continue that counts. So what he means by that is when things are going great, people talk about their successes, people rest on their laurels. They think they finished. You accomplished that. You got that job you wanted. You got the promotion you wanted. You know, you got that raise. You started that relationship. You start seeing things happening for you that breed success. And you kind of just relax, okay? That is not final, okay? Phil Jackson says success comes when you have succeeded or when you have completed that specific act, meaning you're only successful in that moment. You got to do it again, okay? So we talked about all these teams. We talked about guys like Russell Westbrook. Yes, he averaged a triple-double for one season. So he was successful that year. You got to do it again and continue to have that success. Success is not final. Winning championships, the Indiana Hoosiers, 16-0. Cool. You won that championship. You were successful. But the success isn't the final thing. You have to keep going. On the other side of that, failure is not fatal either, okay? Just because you fail at something does not mean it's the end of the world. If you lose that job, if that relationship ends, if you don't get that promotion, if you don't win that championship, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the end of the world. It's not fatal. You're not going to die because of that. And so that's what brings the last part of that quote, the courage to get up and continue to go, no matter what happens, winning or losing. If you have the courage to get up after your success and keep going to get more success, if you have the courage to get up when you get knocked down from failure, that's what the true success means. That's what a true winner is. Somebody that can sustain and continue to go and even get knocked down when things are bad, okay? And continue to move forward. So the courage is willing to try again, even after you've known what losing feels like. That's what takes true courage, all right? Appreciate y'all for tuning in to the X-Factor Sportz Podcast, episode 139. We had a great episode. Again, you see the gear. We're changing it up on y'all. I told y'all these were coming. The new X-Factor logo. We're going to have multiple different parts of apparel. So we're going to have sweatshirts and hoodies. Some are going to have the badge up top. Some are going to have the 3x3 in the middle. And then we'll have a small QR code on the back of the neck. That way it's not just big letters on the back like the old shirts were. We're going to make it a little more clean, a little more smooth. But this is an example of what the shirts are going to start looking like. So be sure to holler at me if you're interested. We're going to have them in all different types of colors coming soon. All right. Again, if you like to advertise, as you saw the advertisement earlier on this episode with Aspire Energy, appreciate y'all on the drinks. Make sure y'all order those and use the promo code X-Factor to get 20% off. If you are interested in advertising, go ahead and hit me at X-Factor. Advertise at xfactorsports.com is the email address. And we can put your advertisements on our show and target the audience that you are trying to gain. Advertise at xfactorsports.com. Hit the email up. All right. Again, appreciate y'all for tuning in to the X-Factor Sportz Podcast, episode 139. We have a milestone episode next week, episode 140. We are blasting through season 12. Episode 8 will be next week of the season, but the milestone episode 140. We got more college football to get into. NFL is ramping up, getting close to week 1. So we got a lot of more sports talk for you guys, unbiased takes. This is Jay Mondaine signing out. See y'all next week. Peace.